Stay tuned. Here's what's coming up next on this week's edition of Healthy Eyes with Dr. C.
Sure, yeah. So LASIK involves making a flap, and then you do the ablation. The treatment essentially is underneath the flap. So you make the flap with a laser. No blades are used anymore, and that's one of the main reasons why it's so much safer now, because we don't use blades anymore to make that flap. So we make the flap with a laser and then elevate the flap and then do the ablative pattern underneath the flap. And then once we're done with that, we put the flap back down, and the patient effectively sees very clearly even the next day.
You realize this is very similar to a bris ceremony?
How so?
You start with the flap.
No, don't condone it. If you start talking to him, he'll just take it to places you don't want to go.
All right, sounds good.
Stay tuned. All this and more is coming up next on this edition of Healthy Eyes with Dr. C.
The opinions expressed on this show are those of the host and are not meant to diagnose or treat any particular medical issue. Always check with your doctor or eye care professional before making any changes to your vision care. Now the talk continues on Entertaining Talk Radio, NBC1260 and 96.1 FM. This is Healthy Eyes with Dr. C, live from the Best Buy studios at NBC1260 and 96.1 FM, every Saturday from 2 to 3 p.m. For many of us, our eyes are more than just a window to our world. They're part of how people perceive us, how we look, as well as how we see ourselves and others. There's so much more to Healthy Eyes than just their shape and color. Get in on the conversation. Call 480-423-1260 right now and find out how to keep your world in sharp focus for many years to come. Now with Healthy Eyes, here is your host, Dr. C.
7 minutes after the hour at NBC 1260 and 96.1 FM. This is Healthy Eyes. If you want to get in on the conversation, 480-423-1260 is the number to call. And we're here with Dr. John Chrisagis from Tempe Eyecare Associates and Dr. C, who's your guest today.
Do I have a guest? I don't even know where I'm at. I just need to tell our listeners we're in a new studio, and this is it's kind of different. It sounds like there's an echo here, so if you're getting a different kind of sound from us today, it's from the new studio. But we'll work on that. We'll make it better as time goes on. But I do have a guest today. My guest is Dr. John Conti. John is an ophthalmologist who practices in Tempe and Ahwatukee, and he's here to talk to us about the cornea and other things that he does. John, welcome.
Well, thank you, Dr. C. I appreciate you having me here on the radio.
No problem. John's been in practice for a little while here in Tempe, and I got to know him. And so in working with him has been great. So I thought I'd have him on the show to talk about what he likes to do. So where are you from? I'm
from Cleveland area, actually, in Ohio.
And where did you go to school?
I went to medical school at the University of Cincinnati. Well, for undergrad, I went to Ohio State. The Ohio State University.
That's too bad.
Thanks. And then University of Cincinnati for medical school. And then I did a year of internal medicine, which is required before going on to doing ophthalmology residency. So I did that in Columbus, Ohio. And then I went to Case Western Reserve in Cleveland, Ohio for the ophthalmology residency. And then after that, I went on to University of Texas, Southwestern in Dallas for a fellowship in cornea and refractive eye surgery.
So you are a fellowship-trained corneal specialist.
That's right.
That's cool. Yeah,
most people don't think that's too cool, but
no, I think it's great. Only because of a lot of the things that I see in practice, I'm able to send people to people like you to help them out for various afflictions that we'll talk about, and some great things can be done. But you talking about where you're from and the schools you went to, I grew up in the Cleveland area too, so it's one of the things we have in common. And Case is just a great, not that they're all not great schools, but Case Western Reserve was always one that you felt like was at the top. So congratulations, that was great. Did you like it there?
I really did, yeah.
And then how was Texas?
Texas is Texas, everything's bigger there. So
Yeah, exactly. And so you got out of your fellowship and came straight to Arizona?
I did, yeah. The practice that I'm with was advertising on the American Academy of Ophthalmology website. That's where a lot of us find jobs. Yeah. And I knew that it was just a great area, a thriving area, and they needed a cornea specialist. So it was perfect.
And they is whom?
The practice that I'm with is ophthalmic surgeons and physicians. So I have 4 other partners. Well, one of them just retired, Dr. Robert Lewis. He actually founded the practice about 40 years ago. So it's been there for quite a while. So now we have 2 offices. But the others in the practice, we have an oculoplastic surgeon, Dr. Lisa Mansueto, and she deals with eyelids, blepharoplasties, raising eyelids, and different plastic surgeries of the eyelids and just around that area. And then also we have a glaucoma specialist, Dr. Camille Hilton, and then a general ophthalmologist that also specializes in glaucoma, Bertram Matsumoto, who's also been there a very long time. He's now the senior partner since Bob Lewis retired.
Yeah, I remember when I first came into practice in Tempe, it was 1986, and Dr. Lewis had a thriving practice then, and he only built it from there forward. It's been a great practice. It's just continued to grow as they've added doctors. So now that you all know about him, now we'll start talking about things that he likes to do. And obviously a lot of it has to do with the cornea, because that's where he is fellowship trained, even though, correct me if I'm wrong, you do see a lot of other...
Oh, yeah. I do a lot of general ophthalmology as well.
Right. And doing cataract surgery would be, I would consider general ophthalmology, but being a corneal trained surgeon probably helps a little bit with that.
It does, yeah, because there's a lot of new technology now. So, after cataract surgery, we remove part of the procedure is removing the cataract, and then you implant a new lens inside the eye, actually a prosthetic lens. So being a corneal surgeon, I know a lot more about a lot of that technology, the newer types of lenses that are out, and how to properly use them in patients very effectively.
Yeah, and we had a few ophthalmologists on in the past talking about different types of cataract surgery. So we'll go into that a little bit too. But what I wanted to talk about, first of all, was being on the cornea. The big thing with most of the patients nowadays that has to do with the cornea that they're interested in is LASIK. Yeah. And being trained in cornea and refractive surgery, LASIK is probably one of the things that you not only like to do, but get a kick out of doing.
I really do. I think it's a great procedure. Patients are absolutely thrilled after having LASIK. The procedure's really come a long way. Now it's all wavefront guided, meaning it literally corrects every single abnormality in the corneal prescription. So it's better than glasses can do, and even better than what contact lenses can do for the vision.
Yeah, coming from since I've been in practice a lot longer than you, I've seen the comings and goings of different things from RK through the first stages of LASIK and ALK and different things. And
the bifocal that was invented by Franklin, I think.
I was there, and he took all the credit.
I knew it was you. I still give you credit for that.
So, but nonetheless, it's just gotten so much better, and the outcomes are just far much better than they used to be, as far as getting people to see and not having all the glare and halos and things like that. So the facility you use for the surgery, it's all laser?
Yeah, it's all state of the art. All the brand new lasers that are available. All the wavefront guided or custom view technology that you hear about. Yeah. That's what most people are doing now. So, when you do LASIK, you make a flap first, and even that is all laser guided now. No more blades.
No more.
It's all laser.
Keratome. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that's great.
So it made it much safer, much safer procedure, much greater, much better outcomes.
And do you find that is with this, like lately with this economy, so to speak, do you find as many people are asking for LASIK? Has it gone down?
I think it's definitely decreased. Yeah, it was much more popular earlier on.
Sure.
And it even costed more. I mean, it cost more back then, and the procedure wasn't as good, but it was much more popular then.
Just like computers and everything else.
That's right.
As time goes on and technology evolves, the price comes down a little bit.
Exactly.
And so we're just probably in a state right now, Mark, where the economy does drive a lot of these things that in our profession that are elective, whether it happens to be a specialty type of contact lens or surgery for LASIK or surgery on, if your lids aren't bad enough. You mentioned Dr. Mansueto, who does a lot of the lid work in the East Valley, but some of that's covered by insurance, and sometimes it's elective, and people aren't going to go for those kind of things when the economy's been the way it has been. Hopefully, as the economy comes around, people will start doing some of those elective things again.
How much is insurance related, and how much of it is economy. So how much is it? The insurance will cover this. The insurance won't cover this.
Yeah, well, unfortunately with LASIK, it's fully elective. Insurance typically doesn't cover it. There's some vision plans that'll pay a couple $100 towards it, but the procedure on average runs about, it's almost $4,000. So it's not too much is being covered by insurance.
For both eyes, yeah. And
right. Yeah,
some
for both
insurance,
eyes.
he mentioned a couple $100, but from a lot of other insurances negotiate discounts with surgeons. But it's still not anywhere near, quote unquote, covering it. So it's still by far an elective procedure.
So do we look at payment plans for that sort of thing? Or is it someone
that's
generally...
right. That's right, okay. Yeah. Most
is it a little different because then the practice carries the paper, if you will, as opposed to...
it's still through a bank.
It is, okay.
Yeah, exactly. It's almost like a credit card.
So you get paid right away, essentially.
Yeah.
So, okay. Well,
typically, and they'll do that with most anything nowadays. Banks are pretty aggressive with the surgery. They've done it for a while. Now, you can even do it on glasses with a company called Care Credit. Where it is a bank, but nonetheless, that's all they do. But they probably do more with dental and optometry or vision than they do anything else. So it's not really, we don't call a bank for someone, but if they want to use their Care Credit. So if they already have it and they've used it before and they see that we take it, they might do that to make payments because it's kind of hard for individual offices to quote unquote carry the paper, as you said.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're listening to Healthy Eyes. It is 15 minutes after the hour. Get in on the conversation. Give us a call at 480-423-1260, and we will be back with more of Healthy Eyes right after this.
Hey, Dan, how's it going?
Great. Nice-looking eyeglasses.
Thanks. They look good, and I can see clear, too. My doctor recommended these new digital lenses. He said that they're the latest in lens technology. It makes sense. Everything is going digital. There's my ride. See ya.
Bye. Hey, what are those lenses called again?
Kodak. Ask for Kodak lenses.
Kodak, huh? That'll be easy to remember.
It's easy to remember to ask for Kodak lenses.
One day starts today with One Day AccuView Moist brand contact lenses. One Day AccuView Moist brand helps give you the confidence to be your best. No cleaning, no hassle. Now available for astigmatism. Now available from Dr. C at Tempe Eyecare Associates, 480-967-4910 for details.
Prescription required. Rare but serious eye problems can develop. Ask your eye doctor for important use and safety information or go to AccuView.com.
Your eye care has a lot to do with your quality of life. Regardless of your age, your eye care is something that should be just as important to you as making sure you eat right and exercise is. Hi, I'm Mark Shander, executive producer of Healthy Eyes with Dr. C. Your eyes are truly a window to your world. A simple look at your retina can reveal health-related issues your primary care physician might not otherwise detect. At Tempe Eyecare Associates, the doctors and staff do more than help enhance your vision. They help you optimize your health. Seeing better is only a part of the process. If you truly care about health and fitness and being your best, reach out to Tempe Eyecare Associates to find out more. To reach Tempe Eyecare Associates, call 480-967-4910. That's 480-967-4910. Or visit Dr. C's website at www.drsee.com. That's drc.com.
See yourself on the ultimate sightseeing dream vacation, a 10-day National Geographic Galapagos Island excursion. As the official sponsor of Sightseeing, Transitions Lenses bring you the Sight of the Day photo contest. Upload your photo and tell us why it's important to you for your chance to win the vacation of a lifetime, plus other great prizes at SeeMoreSights.com. And don't miss out on the Sightseeing City Tour as we shine the spotlight on the top 10 sights to see in 5 U.S. cities. Vote for your favorite sites in each city at SeeMoreSights.com for a chance to win one of 5 great vacations in the U.S. Our eyes are our windows to this beautiful world. As the official sponsor of Sightseeing, Transitions Lenses help you see it in a more vibrant way. They continually adapt to enhance your visual experiences and better connect you to everyday moments, so life looks more vivid, more vibrant, more true. Be a part of the experience at SeeMoreSights.com.
Want to experience the next generation of contact lens comfort? AccuView Oasis brand contact lenses provide crisp, comfortable vision all day long. It's almost like wearing no lens at all. Now available from Dr. C at Tempe Eyecare Associates, 7511 South McClintock Drive in Tempe. 480-967-4910 for details.
Prescription required. Rare but serious eye problems can develop. Ask your eye doctor for important use and safety information or go to AccuView.com.
Now the talk continues, and you're just a phone call away on Entertaining Talk Radio, NBC 1260 and 96.1 FM. Welcome back to Healthy Eyes with Dr. C. Every Saturday from 2 to 3 p.m. Arizona time. Get in on the conversation. Call 480-423-1260 right now and talk about your healthy eyes on the air. Once again, with Healthy Eyes, here's your host, Dr. C.
20 minutes after the hour, we're back at Healthy Eyes. This is Dr. C, Dr. John Chrisagis, here with Dr. John Conti from Ophthalmic Surgeons and Physicians. We should probably be broadcasting this from Cleveland since we both grew up in the Cleveland area. We should
rock and roll.
Do something. Yeah, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. You bet.
Yeah.
I got to see that one year when I always went back for weddings and things. And if it was summertime, my friends would say, "What do you want to do?" I'd say, "Let's go to an Indians game." And they're like, "Why?" There are 22 games out of first place, and it's the 4th of July. But I always like going down there and going to games, and they put the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame down there. So it's great for the downtown area. Anyway.
I still have yet to go there.
Really?
I need to get there.
That's kind of like being have you been to the Grand Canyon?
I've been there, yeah.
Okay, well, there's a lot of people in Arizona have never been to the Grand Canyon.
And how long have you been in Arizona?
I've been here since July, actually, of last year.
Okay. So a little over a year. He's already been to the Grand Canyon.
Just up at Bedrock City.
No, I didn't. I don't even know where that is.
Bedrock City is like, I think it's like 30 minutes, maybe 20 minutes away from the Grand Canyon as you're heading down there. And you see on the left, you look, there's a giant leg in Dino's mouth. You see it just right above Bedrock City. Okay. And you go in and there are all these little exhibits and things where you get to shake hands with a rock Flintstone. And
Mark goes off on these tangents sometimes.
Yeah, it sounds like a lot of fun. I'll go to Sedona instead.
Exactly.
I know what you're missing.
So nonetheless, let's get back into the LASIK conversation, only because, it is something that a lot of listeners are interested in. Every day people come in and they'll say, "What about LASIK?" I'll say, "You've asked me about this the last 5 times you were in," but they don't want to take that chance. What would you consider? Do you consider LASIK something that they're taking a chance with? There is a risk with it?
But there's a risk with any procedure, of course. But the risk with LASIK is especially very minimal. It's not invasive at all, meaning it's not really, it's not intraocular. So
right.
By saying that, I mean things like cataract surgery, where we're actually in a formal operating room setting, things like that are much more risky. But even that is very safe now. So
sure.
Yeah, LASIK is incredibly, incredibly safe. So, and you can look at other alternatives here to LASIK. Obviously, there's glasses, which are very safe, but things like contacts can be very dangerous. You can get corneal ulcers and things from contacts.
Sure you can.
I see it all the time. So,
yeah, but as far as what I try and convey to patients is there is a risk to everything, no matter what you're doing. Yeah. But the fallout or the problems that we have with LASIK are so much reduced from what they used to be.
That's right.
It's pretty phenomenal, the advancements they've made in that surgery.
Yeah.
And so I'm kind of looking at Mark as I say this, because we talk about these things all the time, and and some people are afraid. Granted, you're going to be using a laser on their cornea.
It's a scary thing if you think about it. Wow, they're going to go, it's a laser. It's like, you're not supposed to look at those things.
But the results are a different kind of laser. But the results are just phenomenal with what they're getting nowadays. So
it really is.
It's pretty neat. Now, one thing that we've talked about on the show before is the procedure called PRK.
Yeah.
And PRK is you could say, is a version of LASIK. Why don't you explain that to the audience?
Sure. Yeah. So LASIK involves making a flap, and then you do the ablation. The treatment essentially is underneath the flap. So you make the flap with the laser. No blades are used anymore, and that's one of the main reasons why it's so much safer now, because we don't use blades anymore to make that flap. So we make the flap with a laser, and then elevate the flap, and then do the ablative pattern underneath the flap within the next layer of the cornea. It's called the stroma. And within that, we essentially are engraving a contact lens kind of within the cornea. And then once we're done with that, we put the flap back down, and the patient effectively sees very clearly even the next day.
You realize this is very similar to a bris ceremony?
How so?
You start with the flap.
Don't condone it. If you start talking to him, he'll just take it to places you don't want to go.
All right, sounds good. So you want to know the difference then between PRK and LASIK. So with LASIK, we're making that flap. And the reason why we do this flap is because the patients see very clearly the next day. And they're also in very little pain because there's really, the cornea doesn't even know that anything was even done when that flap is laid back down. Now, PRK is a little bit different. PRK involves removing the entire outer layer of the cornea, the epithelium. It's actually a procedure called debridement. And you're essentially scraping the entire epithelium off. It's the equivalent of a full-sized corneal abrasion, almost like you got scratched in the eye. So we remove that entire outer layer and then do the treatment right underneath that. And then that outer layer regenerates within about 72 hours. So the difference is the patients aren't going to see very well for about a week.
Sure.
And also they're going to be in a lot of pain.
So what do you do for pain in that case?
I'll usually give them a prescription for narcotics, like a weak narcotic, like Percocet, to use for the week.
Don't tell him that. He's going to want to have PRK next week. He's going to want to have PRK.
I've gone through a lot of these experiences just to see what they're like. That sounds like one that I might have to report back on.
Yeah, Mark, just on a side note here, we have a caller. Beth has called in. And Beth, what's your question?
Welcome to the show, Beth.
Oh, hi.
Hi, Beth.
Actually, two questions for Dr. Conti. I hear he's from near Cleveland, Ohio. I wonder if he's heard of Ashtabula, Ohio. And the second one, my son had LASIK surgery about 10 years ago, and I wondered how long the effects of that last.
Yeah, that's actually a really good question. Yes, I have heard of Ashtabula.
I knew that one was going to come
Ohio.
first.
That's a small city in northeastern Ohio there. And John over here, Dr. C has, I'm sure, heard of Ashtabula as well.
I have.
How far away from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is that?
Ashtabula? I don't know. I'll have to ask him.
Probably about 45 minutes. Okay. So it's on the very northeastern tip of Ohio there. I think, what did it stand for? Lake of Many Fish or something like that? Is that right, Beth? Land of Many Fish? Isn't that what Ashtabula means in Indian?
Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
So when did your son have...
Nice. Too, but
what else?
But yes, I have a son that had LASIK surgery about 10 years ago.
How old was he when he had the LASIK?
He was 17.
Okay. And how old is he? So he's 27 now?
Yes.
And he's still very happy with the results of the LASIK?
Yes, he is.
Yeah, so 17 is kind of on the young side for doing LASIK. I've never done LASIK on anyone that young because the eye is still changing at that point. So generally we like to wait until at least 22 or 23 when the eye is much more stable and keep following the refraction or the prescription changes over those years before that and make sure it was very stable. Because you don't want to charge somebody this amount of money and do LASIK and then have the results change as the eye continues to grow and develop more.
They're not too happy.
Yeah, so he's very lucky that worked out so well. I mean, obviously his prescription was very stable even when he was 17. Otherwise, he wouldn't be happy now 10 years later. But usually I'll do LASIK on, like I said, 22-year-olds at the youngest and make sure that they're very stable. And then they'll usually do pretty well up until the development of cataracts. So...
or the need for reading glasses.
That's right. So yeah, they'll need reading glasses. The natural stage that everybody enters in their mid-40s called presbyopia. Are you there yet, Mark?
No, I just, as a matter of fact, I'm kind of a freak of nature. Dr. C said.
Yeah, we did an exam on the freak side. He still does okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, the lasting effects of LASIK are really permanent. So it's just that eventually other things develop in the eye, like cataracts, and
How'd you know it was over 40?
Just took a while to get.
Some things are just obvious.
Oh. Okay. Well, thank you very much.
No problem at all. Thanks for calling in.
Thanks for the question.
The program. Thank you.
Thank you.
Her question's gonna take us off into other tangents now because I want to talk a little bit about the age of LASIK and how long it does last. So that was a great question on her part.
Wonderful question.
And the other great thing is that now I know what Ashtabula means. And the reason I asked how far that was, I moved away from Cleveland when I was 14, so I wasn't driving yet. So I don't know how long it would take to get to Ashtabula. I just know I'd heard of it and it was somewhere in Ohio. So I learned two things then, how close it is to Cleveland too.
Nice.
Yeah.
But getting back to I'm actually surprised he had LASIK at 17.
Yeah, that's a very young age.
Only because most surgeons that I would ever deal with have always said, 21, 22, when the eye is stabilized.
Yeah.
Every once in a while, I might get a patient that they'll do one on earlier over the last 10 years if they were joining the military or something.
Sure.
And they want to have it done and they've been stable. Like you said, you watch the prescription.
Yeah.
And they would do it earlier. Otherwise, yeah, you want to wait till it's pretty stable. So but it's great that he had it at 17. if at 27 it's still stable, yeah, I'd say he's probably going to do okay.
Yeah, I'd say so too. And the thing is about LASIK is it's repeatable, so you can always go back and we do these things called enhancements. We call them enhancements. So we can re-elevate that flap. That flap that I was talking about earlier that we make during the procedure. Just take them back to the laser center and lift the flap up, and then do further correction.
What stops the flap from lifting on its own?
So it's healed in by the outer layer of the cornea, the epithelial layer. That's the layer that when somebody says they have a corneal abrasion or scratch in their cornea, that's the layer that's affected. So that layer heals over and just kind of solidifies that flap in place. And there's also hydrostatic forces, just molecular bonds and things that occur, but they're not real strong. So you can always go back in and elevate it again. So it doesn't lift right up. I mean, you have to do a little bit of work under the microscope.
And as a matter of fact, in the early days, again, before he probably started doing surgery, if I remember correctly, didn't they make the flap all the way across?
That's right.
And so now in those cases, every once in a while, they did lose a flap.
That's right.
And so that's why they started to make it where they don't call it all the way across and they make a hinge.
That's right.
Where you can lift up, and that way there's always one piece that's a constant part of the cornea, because they used to just make the flap and
see that was a problem with the blades. With
visual indication that's there. Do you see any kind of line or
we can
flash or floater kind of thing or anything that's a result of that?
No, what we see after the surgery, I can see someone who had LASIK even 10 years ago, and we can see the area where the flap healed around, but it's not sight invasive at all.
You can't see it. It's out of the central visual axis.
It's out in the periphery. We can see it, but you can't see it with the naked eye.
The cornea is about 12 millimeters, so that's about half an inch or so, a little bit less than that even. The LASIK flap only consumes about 40-50% of that, so it's not even the entire cornea.
Yeah, but that's the thing about, we talked about PRK, where when they do PRK on people, for whatever reason, we'll look at that afterwards, and you can't even tell they had a procedure because there was no flap made. So it's not always, we can't always look at an eye and say they had refractive surgery.
Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. So you can't tell after PRK, and that's why you always have to let your ophthalmologist know if you're seeing another ophthalmologist down the road, especially if you're going to have cataract surgery.
Yeah.
Because that can change some of the calculations that we do to determine which lens to put inside the eye after cataract surgery. So we always need to know when procedures were done. And like I said, we can, like Dr. C is saying, we can always see the LASIK flap, but we can't see when PRK was done.
The other one, I think I've heard advanced surface ablation or whatever.
Yeah.
That was another one where you couldn't see a line.
That's right.
You couldn't see anything. And so you had no idea they had surgery if they didn't tell you.
Yeah.
And so it's very important, because we have had patients that have had LASIK, have cataract surgery, and if the surgeon didn't know it, I've seen them have to go back in and put in other implants because
sometimes we'll have to do a lens exchange and actually remove the lens we put in and put the more appropriate power lens inside the eye. So it's not a big deal. It's not.
Yeah.
It's not a huge.
But it's just going back in one more time.
That's right.
And
that's right.
You just run that risk.
Right, but you were asking me the difference between or why you would do one as opposed to the other. So.
Sure.
One of the big things we look at is corneal thickness, because like I said, we're essentially engraving a contact lens into the inside the cornea. That's how LASIK works. So if the cornea is really thin, we don't want to make a flap that's going to decrease the thinness even more. So we'll just do it on the surface. But the caveat to that is the amount of pain that you're in for about a week, and then also that you're not going to see very clearly for a week. So it's more time out of work and things like that. Whereas if you have LASIK, you pretty much you can go back to work even probably 2 days later.
Right. Yeah. Because a lot of you that are listening might have gone for evaluations for LASIK, and a lot of people have heard, no, your cornea is too thin. And it may be that you have a thin cornea, or it may be that you have such a high prescription that the cornea you do have, because obviously you have to ablate more tissue for the higher prescriptions, right? So for whatever reason, there's not enough cornea to handle the ablation of your prescription, so they've been told that their cornea is too thin. And, that happens to a lot of people that have gone to ask about LASIK.
That's right. Yeah. And if you do LASIK on a cornea that's too thin, they can run into problems in the future. So I'm very careful with ruling out people that have too thin corneas. Sure. I have to do an entire consultation on patients before I would even consider doing the LASIK.
Exactly. And I've had patients that actually got mad at the surgeon for not doing, everyone else is having LASIK, why can't I? And they tell me the cornea. And it's like the ophthalmologist is sometimes defending themselves for not doing a surgery.
The conditions have to be right. I mean, they have to minimize the risk. You have to make sure the right results come from it.
Yeah, because they'll do great for 10 years or so, but then they can develop a condition called keratoconus, and that's another thing that.
Let's talk about that when we get back. I'd like to hear more about how what some of the risks are.
Sure.
You're listening to Healthy Eyes on NBC1260 and 96.1 FM. If you'd like to get in on the conversation, give us a call. The number is 480-423-1260, and we will be back with more of Healthy Eyes right after this.
Things get so damn hot.
I know.
Next generation of contact lens comfort? AccuView Oasis brand contact lenses provide crisp, comfortable vision all day long. It's almost like wearing no lens at all. Now available from Dr. C at Tempe Eyecare Associates, 7511 South McClintock Drive in Tempe. 480-967-4910 for details.
Prescription required. Rare but serious eye problems can develop. Ask your eye doctor for important use and safety information or go to AccuView.com.
Hi, I'm Mark Shander, executive producer of HealthyEyes, every Saturday from 2 to 3 p.m. right here on NBC1260 and 96.1 FM. Your eyes are more than just your window to the world. They're how other people see you and sometimes see right through you. Find out how to protect your vision with the latest technology in eye care this Saturday from 2 to 3 p.m. right here on NBC1260 and 96.1 FM.
Come on, Lisa, let's go before it gets dark.
Well, we haven't talked to everybody yet. Why do you want to go so soon?
You know I don't like driving at night. The lights on oncoming traffic and reflections are just awful.
I'll drive back tonight. I have my anti-reflective lenses with me. I don't have that problem.
It works for me. Let's get some more food.
Later that same evening.
Okay, everybody, smile for the camera.
Wait, I need to get my glasses off. They always reflect the light, and I don't like the way they look.
That's it. You're getting anti-reflective lenses, too.
Yahoo!
It's easy to remember to ask for Kodak lenses.
Transitions Optical is dedicated to promoting healthy sight worldwide. Transitions lenses do more than correct and protect vision. They enhance the way you see everyday life. By adapting to changing light conditions, they bring out the best in all that you see, so life looks more vivid, more vibrant, more true. Transitions lenses are the #1 photochromic lenses recommended by eye care professionals worldwide. Protect your eyes and learn more about Transitions lenses by visiting your eye doctor or transitions.com. See yourself on the ultimate sightseeing dream vacation, a 10-day National Geographic Galapagos Island excursion. As the official sponsor of sightseeing, Transitions Lenses bring you the Sight of the Day photo contest. Upload your photo and tell us why it's important to you for your chance to win the vacation of a lifetime, plus other great prizes at SeeMoreSights.com. And don't miss out on the Sightseeing City Tour as we shine the spotlight on the top 10 sights to see in 5 U.S. cities. Vote for your favorite sites in each city at SeeMoreSights.com for a chance to win one of 5 great vacations in the U.S. Our eyes are our windows to this beautiful world. As the official sponsor of sightseeing, Transitions Lenses help you see it in a more vibrant way. They continually adapt to enhance your visual experiences and better connect you to everyday moments, so life looks more vivid, more vibrant, more true. Be a part of the experience at SeeMoreSights.com.
One day starts today with One Day AccuView Moist brand contact lenses. One Day AccuView Moist brand helps give you the confidence to be your best. No cleaning, no hassle. Now available for astigmatism. Now available from Dr. C at Tempe Eyecare Associates, 480-967-4910 for details.
Prescription required. Rare but serious eye problems can develop. Ask your eye doctor for important use and safety information or go to AccuView.com.
Now the talk continues, and you're just a phone call away on entertaining talk radio, NBC 1260 and 96.1 FM. Welcome back to Healthy Eyes with Dr. C, every Saturday from 2 to 3 p.m. Arizona time. Get in on the conversation. Call 480-423-1260 right now and talk about your healthy eyes on the air. Once again, with Healthy Eyes, here's your host, Dr. C.
22 minutes to the top of the hour. We're back at Healthy Eyes. This is Dr. C, Dr. John Chrisagis, and we're talking with Dr. John Conti today. And before we continue and talk about what we were going to talk about, we have a caller. We have George on the line. George, welcome to the show.
Hi, and hello from Phoenix.
Oh, hey, George. How are you?
Doing good. How's everybody there?
Good.
Great.
Hey, Dr. Conti, I've got a question for you. I
Sure.
have a friend of mine who went to the doctor, and they told him he may possibly have macular degeneration. What are some of the early signs of that?
So with macular degeneration, that's a disease that usually affects older people, usually in the even 7th and even 8th decades. Usually I'll see patients that are in their early 70s that are starting, maybe even early 60s, I'll see early changes in the macula. Just to tell everybody about the anatomy of the eye, the macula is the central part of the retina. The macula is the part of the retina that's involved in the high acuity vision, like reading, seeing people's faces, seeing street signs. That's all the macular function. The rest of the retina, which is the majority of the retina, is really just for very limited low acuity peripheral type vision. So with macular degeneration, you start to lose your central vision. And like I said, this disease can start in the 60s, and then usually it doesn't become advanced until the 70s. It does tend to run in families. It's more common in females, and it's also more common in light-skinned people, especially light-eyed people, like blue-eyed or light green-eyed people. And we see it a lot in like Scandinavian descent people with very light skin. And a lot of it has to do with because the eye doesn't have as much pigment in it, so it can't absorb all that radiant UV energy. So it ends up just penetrating into the macula and actually causing UV damage to the macula. So it is a very serious problem. You said your friend has the early stages of it?
Yeah, that's what they think. He's in his early 50s, and nothing's been definite yet, but that's what they're leaning toward.
Yeah, so there's a really powerful study in ophthalmology called the AREDS trial. That's AREDS. And that was a very, very significant study. It enrolled about 5,000 patients and concluded around 2004. And that showed a huge reduction in the progression of the early form of the macular degeneration, the dry form. And it showed a very significant reduction in that. If you take these vitamins called the AREDS vitamins, there's multiple different brands out on the shelves. They're eye caps, Ocuvite, Ocular Protect. There's many brands, but they're all the same thing. It includes 5 separate vitamins and supplements. So vitamin A, vitamin C, vitamin E, zinc, and copper. Those 5 things were shown to reduce the progression of macular degeneration. So that's one thing I always recommend to people. If they're not already on those and they have the early signs of macular degeneration, I would recommend taking those vitamins. They're over the counter. Yeah. And then also wear sunglasses everywhere outside.
Yeah, especially here in Phoenix, we have a lot of UV exposure with the sun. And if you're light-skinned and you live here, you need to wear sunglasses. And the other thing is, don't smoke.
That's right. Smoking is also shown. Yep.
Yeah, it's definitely been shown to be a problem there. But hopefully, if your friend the symptom he's going to start to notice is his vision's going to start to get blurry.
That's right.
And his glasses they're going to help, but they're not going to be as clear as they used to be. And they'll just try and do whatever they can to make him see better. And ultimately, they'll come up with a diagnosis of macular degeneration if it starts to form.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, thanks for the question. Do you have any other questions, George?
Thank you, Dr. Conti, and great show, Dr. C.
Sure, thank you.
Thank you so much for the call.
Have a good day.
You too.
You too. So before the call, we had talked about doing surgery when you didn't need to have it done or shouldn't have had it done because your cornea was too thin. And Dr. Conti mentioned possibly getting keratoconus on down the road. To be honest, and you can correct me if I'm wrong on this one, I've gotten a lot of referrals from ophthalmologists when people go in to ask for LASIK, and they'll do a corneal topography on them, and all of a sudden they'll see that they've got early keratoconus, and they're not going to do surgery on them. And the patient really didn't even know they had that. They just knew they never really saw that well with their soft contacts or their glasses. So if it's one thing that LASIK has done, it's definitely found a lot more keratoconus in the world than we thought was there.
Well, let's talk about what some of the risks are. I mean,
this is one of them.
Well, this was one of them.
Yeah.
And what are the other? And we talked about second opinions. Do we have that conversation yet, or is
not
it?
Yet.
Does it make sense to have a second opinion before just moving forward, or do you think it's
with LASIK?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if it's a good candidate and you trust your surgeon, I mean, I know most of us operate under very ethical guidelines.
Yeah, it's like, you need another $4,000. No, it's not what it is. It's like you want to help.
No, I turn down a lot of patients.
Yeah,
so.
This being elective, I mean, I would never tell a patient that they have to go talk to a surgeon and get a second opinion because this is an elective procedure. Whereas if one surgeon says no to you, yeah, you can go get a second opinion if it's that important to you. But I doubt that first surgeon's telling you no for any other reason other than the health of your eye.
That's right.
But it's definitely an option for you for a second opinion.
I forgot to do this, but I promised that the next time we had anyone who does eye surgery on, I was going to bring the operation game.
Just to see how good I was at it. See if there's any fine tremor there.
Okay, your job is to take out wrenched ankle.
So it's actually pretty funny you say that. I do have some patients that make me hold my hands out to show that I have no tremor.
Now,
and
the other question,
occasionally I'll drink a big glass of coffee though, before they ask me that question.
So but the question that I'll ask you, has anyone, when you tell them they have cataracts and they could do this, or this, they'll look at you and they'll say, if I was your mother, what would you tell me to do?
That's very common. Or they ask what I would do, if I were the one that needed the LASIK.
Yeah.
So, and I would answer that question that I would have it done. I think it's a very safe procedure now, so it's very effective.
Yeah, it's amazing how they bringing the mother out. Always, I'm just telling them things that they should do. Like I might be referring them for cataract surgery, not even doing the surgery, and they'll say, "Well, if I was your mother, would you send me?"
Yeah, because I've heard it the other way. If it was your wife, what would you do? And then the doctor says, "My first or my second?"
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's another show too.
Yeah.
But, when we talk about complications, you mentioned you could do this and possibly create keratoconus, or I wanted to talk about keratoconus anyway.
Yeah.
You being a corneal specialist, keratoconus is something that's out there that a lot of people don't know about, but a lot of people have it and they know about it. And why don't you tell us a little bit about keratoconus? What it is?
So it's a naturally occurring thing that occurs just naturally in the population spontaneously. So we know a few associations with it. We know that it's associated with certain diseases. Down syndrome has an association. Atopic conditions, those would be like allergic conditions like eczema, asthma. These things can be related because we think it's a mechanical thing because patients are rubbing their eyes a lot and they're actually putting pressure on the cornea. That's the surface of the eye that we're talking about, that we actually do the LASIK in. So when you apply pressure, you can kind of stretch that tissue out and you can get a bulge in the cornea that shouldn't be there. And that's what keratoconus is. Keratoconus is literally a bulge in the cornea. So you end up having light that can't be focused perfectly on the retina.
Yeah, because the cornea gets distorted.
It's distorted,
It's a problem. And those are the people that, just to go on, I'm like talking to Mark a little bit more about this, that the first signs of keratoconus, we can't get them to see that well out of their glasses. So we put them into contact lenses. 9 times out of 10, it has to be a rigid lens, not a soft lens, because a soft lens will just conform to all that distortion, where a hard lens will keep its shape, the tears fill in behind it, and you can see. Mm-hmm. And ultimately, we try and get them to see as well as we can. But if the cornea continues to push out, then we have to send them to a surgeon like Dr. Conti in order to do a procedure that we've talked about in the past.
Is that ever misdiagnosed and you wind up doing a punctal occlusion or something?
No. See, the smile's coming up. He just loves. There's a couple words he loves.
We've had requests to bring back the punctal plug conversation.
He loves punctal plugs, and he loves the word conjunctiva.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so
vascular
and vascular.
I can see you're a medical man there, Mark.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not really, but I play one on the radio.
Yeah, you stayed at the Holiday Inn last night, the Express.
See, he's learning.
I've seen
he's learning.
Yeah.
Now it's 2 against 1. We both got you going. But nonetheless, getting back to the keratoconus thing, we'll try and keep people for as long as they can just wearing contact lenses and not doing anything invasive. When it comes time to where we can't fit them with a contact lens any longer, we send them to Dr. Conti. Now there are a couple different options that we have, even short of surgery. Because there are what we call corneal transplants. Last week we talked about you can't transplant eyes, but you can transplant corneas. This is the man that does that.
Exactly.
And so why don't we go into that a little bit?
And where do you get your supply? Is it like when somebody says they want to be a donor, they automatically kind of put it into a place where you eventually take possession of it, or how does that work?
So it's based on the donor. When you go to the Bureau of Motor Vehicles, when you elect to become an organ donor, the cornea is considered a tissue organ donation.
Do you ever have disagreements or fights with universities over who gets the derelict guy or any of that kind of stuff?
See, I wouldn't deal with that. The eye bank may deal with that. If I order,
it's not you personally.
That's right. Yeah. So it's actually the eye bank, the Eye Bank Association of America, and we actually have an office here.
I'm sorry for joking about that. I feel terrible.
No,
I got the look of how can you joke about that?
I wasn't thinking that.
All right.
So the Eye Bank Association of America, and like I said, we have an office. There's an office based here, so I'm able to communicate with them very closely and get very good corneal tissue. The tissue, there are preferences on the corneal donors that you want. Oftentimes, we like to have younger donors, or
they have brown hair. They're kind of masculine. They're like really built up, and you're kind of. It's not the same as like going down and looking for
No.
A different kind of donor.
No.
Let him answer the question.
But then we also
you still want to do this?
we also look at things like there's something we call it the cell count. That's the number of cells on the back surface of the cornea, and that's actually the most important part of the cornea. It's called the endothelial cell layer. So that's the very inner lining of the cornea. And the reason why it's so important, number one, it's the thinnest layer of the cornea, but it's also it provides structural integrity to the eye, and then it also functions as a pump. And it actually keeps the cornea clear because the cornea has to remain clear to be able to see out of it. It's a window, essentially, to the eye. So the only way that stays clear is that endothelial layer keeps pumping. So we look at the cell count in the donors, and we actually like a higher cell count. And that implies that it's a much better quality donor tissue.
So you get to make that decision before they make the donation.
The eye bank will contact me about 48 hours before each case when they have a cornea available.
I see.
And they'll let me know. They'll have several options usually, and I'll usually pick one that's
How long can you store that in between the time that you...
that's a good thing now. So I actually just wrote a book chapter on that in a corneal textbook about corneal storage and eye banking. And that field has really come a long way. It used to be that patients would essentially have to wear a pager, just like a cardiac or a kidney transplant. And now, really, it's an entirely elective procedure. We do this during normal hours. The corneas are stored for about 2 weeks.
Wow.
Up to 2 weeks now.
Oh, that's incredible.
Very safely. Wow. So it used to be the storage media or the solution that you would store the corneas in was only good for about 48 hours or less. And even in that, the cornea would continue to degrade even over the 48 hours. So
we must take a break. It is 10 minutes till the top of the hour. You're listening to Healthy Eyes with Dr. C. That's Dr. John Chrisagis from Tempe Eyecare Associates. If you'd like to get in on the conversation, we have about time for maybe one more call on the flip side of the break. 480-423-1260 is the number to call. I'm executive producer Mark Shander. We will be back with more of Healthy Eyes on NBC1260 and 96.1 FM right after this.
One day starts today with One Day AccuView Moist brand contact lenses. One Day AccuView Moist brand helps give you the confidence to be your best. No cleaning, no hassle. Now available for astigmatism. Now available from Dr. C at Tempe Eyecare Associates, 480-967-4910 for details.
Prescription required. Rare but serious eye problems can develop. Ask your eye doctor for important use and safety information or go to AccuView.com.
Hey Dan, how's it going?
Great. Nice looking eyeglasses.
Thanks. They look good and I can see clearer too. My doctor recommended these new digital lenses. He said that they're the latest in lens technology. It makes sense. Everything is going digital. There's my ride. See ya.
Bye. Hey, what are those lenses called again?
Kodak. Ask for Kodak lenses.
Kodak, huh? That'll be easy to remember.
It's easy to remember to ask for Kodak lenses.
Transitions Optical is dedicated to promoting healthy sight worldwide. Transitions lenses do more than correct and protect vision. They enhance the way you see everyday life. By adapting to changing light conditions, they bring out the best in all that you see, so life looks more vivid, more vibrant, more true. Transitions lenses are the #1 photochromic lenses recommended by eye care professionals worldwide. Protect your eyes and learn more about Transitions lenses by visiting your eye doctor or transitions.com. See yourself on the ultimate sightseeing dream vacation, a 10-day National Geographic Galapagos Island excursion. As the official sponsor of sightseeing, Transitions Lenses bring you the Sight of the Day photo contest. Upload your photo and tell us why it's important to you for your chance to win the vacation of a lifetime, plus other great prizes at SeeMoreSights.com. And don't miss out on the Sightseeing City Tour as we shine the spotlight on the top 10 sights to see in 5 U.S. cities. Vote for your favorite sites in each city at SeeMoreSights.com for a chance to win one of 5 great vacations in the U.S. Our eyes are our windows to this beautiful world. As the official sponsor of sightseeing, Transitions Lenses help you see it in a more vibrant way. They continually adapt to enhance your visual experiences and better connect you to everyday moments, so life looks more vivid, more vibrant, more true. Be a part of the experience at SeeMoreSights.com.
Want to experience the next generation of contact lens comfort? AccuView Oasis brand contact lenses provide crisp, comfortable vision all day long. It's almost like wearing no lens at all. Now available from Dr. C at Tempe Eyecare Associates, 7511 South McClintock Drive in Tempe. 480-967-4910 for details.
Prescription required. Rare but serious eye problems can develop. Ask your eye doctor for important use and safety information or go to AccuView.com.
Now the talk continues, and you're just a phone call away on Entertaining Talk Radio, NBC 1260 and 96.1 FM. Welcome back to Healthy Eyes with Dr. C. Every Saturday from 2 to 3 p.m. Arizona time. Get in on the conversation. Call 480-423-1260 right now and talk about your healthy eyes on the air. Once again, with Healthy Eyes, here's your host, Dr. C.
6 minutes to the top of the hour. Welcome back to the last segment of Healthy Eyes. I'm Dr. C, on the air with Dr. John Conti from Tempe and Mark Shander, the executive producer. And we're going to finish up talking about the cornea here. We've been talking about the cornea with Dr. Conti for the last hour. And we actually went into keratoconus in the last segment and started talking about corneal transplants and things, which is a very interesting thing that you can do with the eye. And so I'm going to go back to Dr. Conti now, and we're going to talk about, you had mentioned having the donor corneas and the, by the way, you wrote a chapter for a book?
Yeah, for a cornea textbook. It's an international corneal textbook. So me and one of my former chairmen at Case Western authored the chapter together. Just like every other chairman, he put his name on it, and I wrote the chapter.
Of course. And
sorry, Dr. Lass.
So let's talk about the procedure of transplanting corneas, and how the question that I have before you get going is, how often do you get a rejection, or how often does it not work and you have to go back and do it again?
Yeah, so it's very rare nowadays. It's really, it's not a matter of rejection these days, hardly. It's more a matter of decompensation, where the graft just can't pump enough, and the cornea just doesn't clear up in some cases. That's very rare. So in the hands of a skilled surgeon.
Because you know the endothelial cell count before you start.
That's right, that's right. So I think it works very well that way.
So the real quick question then, what happens in that case regarding, do you get a do-over?
That's right. That's right. Oh yeah,
seriously?
you can repeat it. Yeah, of course.
And what about on the financial side?
Well, yeah, I mean, it still is going to cost, the facility fee and all that. I mean, there's still a lot of work involved in redoing it. So that's just one of the risks of surgery. Yeah. They don't always work.
And you're not going to want to stay where you're at because you don't really see that well.
Exactly. That's right. Yeah. That's right. Yeah. But yeah, the field's really it's really revolutionized now. I mean, the field has completely changed now. It's not just full thickness corneal transplants. That used to be the only option for all these conditions. We would transplant just the entire cornea, and the eyeball would be entirely opened up during the surgery. You literally remove a pothole from the center of the cornea, and then do the same thing on the donor cornea, and then stitch it in place. So that's somewhat of a dangerous procedure or a high risk procedure, because you have the eyeball opened up, and there's a lot of things that can happen when the eye is wide open like that for about 40 minutes during the case of corneal transplant.
Pressure issues maybe?
That's right. Yeah. Well,
the same.
That's right. Yeah. There's all kinds of things that can happen. But now the changes in cornea are we do lamellar keratoplasty, so just multiple layers. We'll just transplant the one layer that's bad. We don't transplant the entire cornea unless it's really needed. So things like keratoconus, all of the pathology, all the problems are really in the outer layers of the cornea. That's where you're getting that bulging, which occurred again either naturally or through a process like LASIK. So you can remove just that bulging layer and replace just that one layer off of. You just remove that one layer off of the donor cornea, and then transplant just that one layer, leaving the further layers deeper layers of the cornea all intact. And the visual outcome is great. The recovery is much quicker, and the structural integrity of the eye is maintained as well, because you're keeping the natural layers of the patient's cornea still there.
Having done this for a while now, do you feel it's going to be possible that if they have the keratoconus, you take just a couple layers off, put the donor on there, that it can come back?
That's a good point. Yes, keratoconus can return. Yeah.
So it's not necessarily going to, but it could.
That's right. It could. The chances are very slim, but it certainly could.
And because we've only got a couple minutes left, I got 2 minutes. But before we go into finding out how we can get a hold of you, let's talk about, if we can for a little while, the cross-linking, collagen cross-linking.
Yeah, so collagen cross-linking, that's a new thing that everybody's really talking about. Pretty much every patient with keratoconus knows about this. They've read about it online. They want to get it done. It's for patients that are destabilizing, where the keratoconus keeps bulging more and more and more over the years, and they're losing more and more vision. So the way collagen cross-linking works is you apply riboflavin to the cornea for about a half an hour, and then you irradiate the cornea with a certain wavelength of light, blue light, and that activates the riboflavin that has now been intercalated into the corneal tissue, and it basically solidifies the cornea, so it can't keep warping more. So it kind of just makes it a harder tissue. So even though it's thinned out and all that, it makes it harder, so it doesn't progress anymore. So It's not going to cure their visual problems, but what it'll do is stabilize them.
Does anyone risk like macular degeneration because you expose them to extreme levels of...
That's a good question, but no, it's very low. There's not much energy involved.
And that's why I wanted to answer the question, because a lot of people come in that do have keratoconus or are reading about this collagen cross-linking, and you can have it done here in the States, but only under experimental. It hasn't been FDA approved yet.
That's right. There's several trials, but that's the way everything is. It just takes a while to get through the FDA.
But it's something that we'll have that will, again, it doesn't get rid of the keratoconus, it just stops it from progressing. So, which is a good thing too.
That's right.
So, John, how can people get a hold of you?
They can reach me we have a website, ophthalmic. The name of my practice is Ophthalmic Physicians and Surgeons, and the website is www.osandp.com.
Great. Okay, and for you, John, it's www.drsecE.com.
DrSecE.com.
Yeah. We will see you next week on Healthy Eyes.
NBC 1260 is KBSZ.